What are your agendas? Do you have priorities? It's been interesting as I talk to people these last few weeks as we come to terms with this current coronavirus crisis, that people are beginning to question what's important, what really matters, what their priorities are, and what their agendas should be. And as I reflect, it strikes me that God's agenda hasn't changed. God's agenda for us hasn't changed. His agenda is still that we'll be constantly changing into His likeness. God's agenda for us is still that we would become the men and women that He's created us to be. And so this week, as we journey towards Easter together, we're following Jesus on this journey to Jerusalem. As He gets close to Jerusalem, Jesus stops and is teaching people in a little group there, and parents are bringing their children to Jesus so that He can bless them. And the disciples, they turn and they rebuke these parents. They say, "Don't bother Jesus with children." You know the story. Jesus turns and rebukes the disciples. He says, "Let the children come to me. Let the children come to me." And Jesus blesses them, and He explains it's to people like this. It's to these children that the kingdom of heaven belongs. And if you want to be part of my kingdom, if you want to be part of what I'm doing, then you need to become like these children. I'm going to leave it for you to reflect on what Jesus is saying, what it means for us to become like children. As Jesus leaves that place, a young man runs up to Him, falls at His feet, and asks Jesus this question: "Jesus, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Tell me, what's this young man really asking Jesus? Isn't he asking that question? What do I need to do to be part of your kingdom? What do I need to do to be part of the work that you're doing? And hasn't Jesus just answered that question? We just need to become like children. And so Jesus has a conversation with this young man, and it turns out that by most people's standards, this man's doing pretty well. He's keeping all the commandments. He's living an exemplary life. But Jesus looks at him, and He looks into this man's heart and into this man's life, and He sees one thing he lacks. And so He says to this man, He says, "If you want to be part of my kingdom, if you want to be part of what I'm doing, there's just one more thing you need to do. Sell everything you have, give your possessions to the poor, and follow me." And then we have these tragic words. We're told, "The man went away sad because he had much wealth." And as I read these accounts this morning, I find myself struggling with two questions. As I read about these children, as I read about this young man, I find myself asking, who am I most like? Am I more like the children or more like the young man? And I find myself asking, what is the Spirit of God wanting me to do? And so I leave you with the same two questions. Who are you most like? The children or this young man? And what is the Spirit of God wanting you to do?